Hello and welcome to Learning Rust Programming series. In this video, we are going to build a REST API with Rust and MongoDB using Rocket framework. So let's start. So step 1 is create new project using cargo. So I'm going to name it like Rust Mongo example. Let's go into this directory. Now we are going to open this project through Visual Studio. So I'm opening this folder. So yeah, so I can see main.rs and cargo.toml. Now here I'm going to add dependency. Let's add dependency for Rocket. We are going to use version 0.5.0 rc.2, which features JSON. We are going to need some more dependency packages while dealing with Rocket REST APIs. So I'm going to add these dependencies. .env is this dependency is going to help us to read from environment variables, and CRUD, this framework is used for serializing and deserializing Rust data structure, or we can say it converts Rust structs into JSON and vice versa. So this version is 0.15.0. And after that, we are going to add dependencies .mongodb, and here we are going to specify version as 2.2.0 called features false. So this is sync API and we have specified required version. So let's run this. It is going to take some time. I'm going to run cargo build command on terminal. There is one error. Oh, so here I am supposed to add version. All right, so it will now build, it will fetch dependency, it is going to compile it. So let's wait for some time. All right, so we have just completed with cargo build command. Now we will write application entry point here in main function. So first of all, we need to import required dependencies. So let's use, we can actually use macro use or directly use keyword, but I'm using macro use. We need to import crate Rocket, and we have to import from Rocket get method. Of course, we are going to need post also. Here I guess typo. All right, and so first we are going to have one simple get method. Path is going to be root path. Result is going to be the JSON string along with status. We are going to use K. So this is HTTP OK message successful, and we are going to create string from message hello from Rust and MongoDB. So here instead of main we are going to have launch. Here instead of main I'm going to have Rocket, no parameter, and I need to specify here what will be the path, and it's going to be hello. So this is the import statement. We have imported Rocket framework. We are going to use get HTTP get method. This is a controller handler hello, which we have specified here for this path. All right, so let's run this. So here I can see some problem. So line number, yeah, here I need to add semicolon, sorry. So it is building incrementally. So I'm just hoping, yeah. So you can see we have 127.0.01. So one thing that you need to do is you have to install Postman. Let me show you here. You have to install this Postman client, or if you are familiar with command URL curl, then that can be done. So this is the site here. You can download REST client, Postman. So I already have installed here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to see if, or I can use browser for this thing. We can use so it's localhost 8000 is the port. Yeah, so you can see hello from this time MongoDB. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Let's add. So let's create modules in our project. So first, what we need to do is we are going to need three modules. That is one for API, one for models, and one for repository. So if you are coming from service architecture, if you know microservice architecture, then in that what we do is we create one module. So we actually segregate this code. So one in API, one in models, and one in repository. So in API, we are going to have controllers which are actually going to handle this REST API call. From API, we are going to get call. So we are going to use repository, and in between there is a business object entity that is mod. All right. So this is very standard structure that we are going to follow. So yeah, so we have created three folders. Now we need to create mod.rs in three. Okay. So we need to use these mods in our main. So let's add this line. We are going to need mod API. So here what I'm going to do is mod models, and last is mod repository. So we have added all three modules. All right. Now what we are going to do is we are going to set up. We are going to use MongoDB Docker image. So let's create one new file is docker compose.yaml. Okay. And here what we are going to do is so there is an option you can go directly. You can actually choose. Let me open MongoDB site. So if you visit MongoDB community server, here you can log in and create cluster for yourself. Yeah, so you can do sign in. You can try free version. Okay, so it's free community server. So here you can create cluster for yourself, or the another option that I'm going to choose is I'm going to fetch MongoDB community server image on my local machine using Docker. All right, so let me do that. So here you can just create the cluster like that. Yeah, so you can create cluster and can follow the steps. Let me know if you want to know the steps. I will create a separate video. But in this video, we are going to use Docker Docker image. So here is a Docker desktop. So what I'm going to do is Docker compose. Let's write something in Docker compose. So we are going to have version 3.6, and yeah, we need to specify services. Mongo. Yeah, Mongo instance, right? Rust Mongo. So here, the image I'm going to use is Mongo, and let's use a tag file. So I'm using little older version. Container name as Rust Mongo. All right. Then this is optional field that I always use. So whenever our machine restarts or instance container will get restart automatically. Now important part here is environment. Here we have to specify Mongo init db root username. So once you set this, at the time of creation itself, your password and username will be set. Okay. Okay. So root, and I'm going to specify simple password as password. Okay. And then we have to specify port for external. So yeah, so by default 27017 port Mongo uses, and we are going to use services.trust Mongo additional property port is not allowed. Okay, it's ports. Sorry, my bad. It's a list. Okay, it's a list. So, okay, so it started pulling this MongoDB image with our required parameters, that is root and password. So let's wait for some time. So you can see my image is now running Rust Mongo. So one of the tools that I have installed on my machine is RoboMongo. It's a GUI based tool which I'm using connect to. So you create new connection here, and you can specify local host 27017 port and password here like this. So I'm going to specify credential as password. Okay, and you do connect. So this is the GUI will open, and it has connected successfully. So it's empty. So that means our MongoDB instance is up and running successfully. So now let's go ahead and let's write some code for connection. Okay, first of all, let's create a new file, user underscore model.rs. So in this file, we are going to have create. We basically want to create public struct. So here we are going to create business entity user. Okay, and so what we need to do is we need to import MongoDB object ID, and also we need serialization, deserialization from JSON, right? Don't forget semicolon. All. So here we are going to use this directive derive debug serialize and deserialize. Okay, this is like annotate. We are annotating it. Now we have first of all ID, which is of type option object ID from MongoDB. The next step is we need to specify serialization. We are overriding serialization property. Basically, if you are familiar with MongoDB, by default properties underscore ID, and what we are telling it that skip serializing if option is none. So if it's none, then don't go ahead and serialize. Okay, for this property. Let's add name, the string. Let's add location, the string, and let's add ID, the string. Okay. So we have model created. We will go to mod.rs. Here we will specify public mod user model. Okay. So let's see. Save. Don't forget to save. Save. So our model is created. Okay. Now let's create user endpoint. But for that, let's create repository. Go to repository. Now we will be making actual communication with MongoDB repos.rs. Okay. To start with, we have to import here. We have to use MongoDB : and we have to import some. So we need bison to handle JSON. Then we need results also. So we are going to try insert, right? Client and collection, so that we can use them. So client we need to create, right? So before we proceed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare here public mod. Okay. So it is very important step that I should be doing it early so that we can use this autocomplete feature. Okay. So let's use models, user model, and we have created just now created model user that we are going to use. Let's create public struct Mongo repo, which we are going to use, encapsulating the logic to logic for connection, and it will expose methods like create user, fetch user, something like that. And for that, we are going to need MongoDB collection. That collection we just now imported here, right? And it is going to be a type of user. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and implement methods on this Mongo repo. First is init, which is going to return same object, right? Let's create URI for creation. So for now, I'm going to create hard-coded URI, but you can use .env package to read this URI from environment. So I'm going to start with hard coding, and later on we can, or you can try and use it. You can try at your end. So yeah, here I need to pass password @ local machine. Remember that if you are going to use Docker image, then you don't have to, you cannot use localhost. Instead, you have to use local machine name. Like for example, in my case, it's going to be my private IP, something like that. Okay. So yeah, for now, let's keep localhost and let's move ahead. So next, I need to create client for connection, and client dot. So I need to use this client. Oh, it's not odd. It's going to be, yeah. So this is what I was talking about. So these methods that we are getting, just like any smart editor that they will provide you, unless you write this line public mod mongo repos, the whole project, it doesn't discover this Rust file mongodb underscore repos.rs. So in order to compile this file and provide this Rust analyzer module, which is an extension that we are using in VS Code Studio, we have to add this line first. Then we will start implementing this module. So let's use this with str that we are going to provide URI, and we are going to call unwrap function. So yeah, let's create DB instance here. So we already have created this object database, and we are going to use hard-coded DB name RustDB. You can remove this, or you can specify this inside this URI also. Let's create collection of type collection user. I'm explicitly using type, specifying type here, because db.collection is going to return some generic type. So we are going to return Mongo repo. Okay. So this is how initialization is going to work. Let's create one more function. Let's make it public. By default, it's private, right? So we have to make it public. And here we have to create user. We have to, so we will be needing this self instance, right? So we have to pass self first, and then new user of type user. And yeah. So first of all, let new doc, we have to create new doc user type user. And why are we doing this? It's because the ID for new, we have to pass ID as none. Okay. Then we can copy all values like this. Name will be new year. Then we have location, new name, new user, location, and last is title. Okay. So now we can go ahead. We are going to actually call method collection. This is insert, right? Insert one. We have to insert one element. So what I'm going to do is just, yeah. So here doc is new doc, and options are actually none. And then we have this small okay. Okay. This O is small, don't forget it. And then we are expecting some exception, that error creating user. So if you want to handle it more gracefully, then you need to handle this result type. We also have to mention here return type. So this result is going to be of type option. It's going to be either this one or it's going to be error. Okay. So if you want to handle gracefully, then what you need to do is you have to handle this error, get this error of option type, and then you have to match the case and handle the data. Okay. All right. So we are done with create user part. So model part, yeah. So we are ready with our Mongo repo. Now we have to expose API here, right? So let's create new file. Let's name it user API. So this is our resource file for user. Okay. Here we are going to expose the user API for creating. Okay. So here I can write user underscore API. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is let's import. Okay, we have plenty of things we have to import. So first is models, user model, user, and we have to import repository also, right? Mongo repo. Yeah. So this first one. Then we have to import results, insert that we are returning from repo, right? Then we have to use Rocket. Here we are going to use HTTP status, and we need serialization. Okay. So for that, we are going to use this library. Then we are done. Okay. So for create user is going to be HTTP post method. So let's write it down. HTTP post, and first is the API name is going to be /user, and second parameter is we are passing parameter, correct? Parameter into type string. This is, yeah. So this is the parameter name that we are going to use in function. It has to be public function, and let's write function name. And here we will be having two parameters. First is database, sorry, state, yeah, and second is going to be new user that we mentioned here in data. It's going to be JSON user. Okay. There will be a return type. It is going to be status, right? But as we have seen in Rust, we have option type for result return. So it's going to be JSON type insert result, or it's going to be status. All right. So let's create data user ID none, same code. Basically, we are just using this new node, new name, and here we are using this method to own. So we are using here to own is because the type is string and not the smart pointer. So most of the time we could have used clone method, but the clone problem, not problem, but the clone, you see, clone returns its receiver. Clone on uh, and str, that is the pointer returns and str. If you want a string, then you need a different method, that is to own. So if you are aware that string and vector, they get memory on, these are growable types, right? They get memory on heap. And if you use clone, then it would return another own value. So we don't want that. That's why we are using to own method here. Okay. So I will create separate video on that to differentiate between to own and clone. Okay. So we have data. Now let's call our service user detail, and we are going to call our db.create user, and we are going to pass data object. Then we have to return type, right? So whatever result we get, we are using match case. So case one is okay, that is successfully we receive user. In that case, we will be happy to return okay. We will be returning JSON of that user. But in case of error, which is we are not going into deep to specifically identify what error exactly. Ideally, we should be throwing more explanatory error back to the user. But here we are, this example, we are not doing it. We are just going to return internal server error. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's user detail, right? Yeah, I have error. Oh, this is sorry. Okay. Parameters that we have used. The first one is and state repo, and second is and JSON struct is used is for managing application state shared across routes and extracting JSON data from request payloads respectively. So I'll repeat again. So we have used this and the pointer to the state pointer, right, of Mongo repo. So it is used, it is defined that so that managing application state across the routes and we are extracting JSON data from request payload respectively. We are using it. So yeah, so here we have used that object, right? db.create user. We have one more error here. Yeah, we have some problem. So we have one error here. Insert on result. Insert one result. Yeah. Okay. So we don't have error. Now we can go ahead. In main, so here what we are going to do is we are going to mount or slash use create user. Okay. All right. So yeah, we are ready. Let's look. Let's see. Yeah, our instance is running. Let me first of all run this. So you can either use command line and run cargo build command. I'm using directly. I'm running directly from VS Code. So we have some error. Let's go through exception. So yeah, launching with unmanaged Rust Mongo example repository. Okay. So yeah, so what we need to do is we have to let Rocket manage state of this repository, that is this is DB, right? Let's run this. So I'm also running this Mongo. So it's localhost. Authentication. Authentication is we already provided. Okay. So if you go inside this, so there is no schema as of now, and no user is there. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to run our API through Postman. So our request is post. Let's localhost 80. It's 8,000, right? It's 8,000. Okay. 8,000 slash user. Okay. And it's a post. We have to add header here as type. Then type is application JSON, right? Application, since we are passing application JSON data. Here in body, we are going to pass raw data. So first parameter is name, is going to be John, location, America, and title, Mr. Okay. And so let's try this method. Okay, so we have received insert ID. Let's remember, so I will keep this output as it is and we'll go to Mongo. Here I'm going to refresh. So you can see RustDB is created for us. And here you can see our user has been, this record has been entered successfully that we create. Okay, so this was about creating. Let's write an API which will read information of the user. So create happened. Now CRUD, in CRUD we have completed with create. Now we'll go ahead with read operation. Okay, so for that, again, first of all, we'll go to our Mongo repo. Here, let me close this. We'll run it again after some time. Let's write function get user, and here I need, okay, first is self, and here I will be needing parameter ID, right? So let's pass parameter here, and result is going to be user, right? User record and error. Yeah. Let object ID equal to, so this is MongoDB object ID. Pass str ID. Let user detail. If I want to call insert function, then it will be like self dot collection dot insert one, right? So here I need to insert document, and then second option is filter. Okay, so for that I need to create filter, which is JSON, where ID is going to be the parameter that we have received. Okay, or rather, yeah, this object ID. Correct. We need to import doc. Okay, so we need to use unwrap function here. All right, so we have now this get user implementation ready in Mongo repo. Again, we'll come back to API. Here we will have now we having get API. Get user path is going to be /user /path function public function get user. We will be needing managed instance of MongoDB shared across. Then second is parameter. It's going to be string. Return type is going to be result type. Result type JSON user or error. Sorry, status. First we have ID, object ID, right? Then if ID is empty, then we have to return error like this. Status, it's a bad request. Right, else and yeah, written. Then yeah, user details will call function db dot get user will pass ID, and then yeah, we'll return this. So here we will be returning JSON, and if not, then we will have to return error for all other cases. Status internal server error, and then we have to hook it up into main.rs. Here we will be using mount /user, so root on. So this is a base path and get user. Okay, let's run this. Let's open. Yeah, so we'll be using same object ID, string object ID. Let me create new method, new. Yeah. Let's copy path. Yeah, so we have to add here in path parameter we have to add this object ID. Okay, so let's send and see if yeah. So we were able to fetch our record. So we were able to read the data which we already created. If I send something non-existent, then it is going to create 500 internal error. Okay, so here we should be returning some nice error, user defined error. Okay, so in this way we have done with create and read. So in the next is we have to understand the modify operation. So for that, what we need to do is again we have to go inside MongoDB, Mongo repo. Here we have to insert one more method, that is update user. So again, so we have to take parameter which ID which we want to modify and corresponding new record. Okay, result is let result from Mongo, else we will return error. Again, we will be copying this code as it is for object ID. Then we will be calling new dot equal to yeah. So here we are going to use set. So ID is going to be the one that we have. Name, we have location, we have title. All right. So set inside is set. Okay. Now it's time to use these both parameter in our update request. Self dot collection dot update one. Here we pass filter Then let me, so here the second part is new doc. The third part is option, which is going to be none. And if it returns okay, except error updating user. And if successful, we will be returning. All right. So this is how update query is going to look like. Let me save. So after saving, we have to come back to our API where we will be exposing. We put and delete. As per OWASP guidelines, the presence of these methods on a RESTful API is not a security issue. However, this functionality may have other vulnerabilities such as weak access control and should be thoroughly tested. Right? Yeah. So we will be using put and user path. Same. We have public function, right? User, which will be called, and its return type is going to be result. So here basically it's going to be same. Okay. And then self state mongo repo. We need this instance. And yeah, here I forgot to. So we will be having data here. Okay. So apart from this, we need to have data equal to new user. That is going to be our parameter name. New user. JSON. Let ID equal to path. ID is empty. Then we need to return status bad request. Okay. Next is let data equal to create user. We need to use object ID, parse str, and ID, and next is name, right? Location. Last is your title. Okay, we need to add this path. Okay, so let's go ahead and do update result. db.update user. We'll pass ID and new user. Match update result. Error, in case of error, we have to be straightforward. Internal server error, right? Here we have to return. Here I think we have to put that result. Okay, so that we can have a dot equal to 1 db dot get user. So in case we found, we are again going to check db. In case we found that record, we are going to return it. Else our call will be no record found. Else part, let's return status is not found. It's okay. We'll go to main and we'll mount okay. Let's try to run this update. So we will go to, we'll try to fetch the same record again. We copy this. Okay. So now I'm going to create put method for to update. Let me copy. So we are going to update same user again here. Update. In header, we need to pass content as application JSON. And in body, we will pass, we'll do some changes here. So we are just modifying this user. Let's run this put method. Okay. So now it has successfully written Don Bradman. And if we go back here, earlier it was John Doe America. If I try to fetch this record again, it will return Don Bradman. So our put request is successful. All right. So last part in this tutorial is delete. Let's go to Mongo and implement delete method also. Public delete user. So again, it's going to be self and ID. Let object ID equal to object ID, pass str ID in the wrap. We have object ID. Let's create filter underscore ID. Object ID. All right. Let user detail equal to self dot delete one. So query is filter options none, and we'll write in OK. Then we will expect if we find error, then and we'll return user detail. Okay. And so we have to pass return type also. Delete result error. So we have to import delete result already. Here also we have to import the delete result, and we have to implement. So for delete, we have delete method of HTTP. Path variable is there. DB state Mongo repo. Second parameter is path. Let's use string here. Okay, chalo. Let's go ahead. ID equal to path. Ready is empty. Return. Add request. Let result equal to db dot delete user. Match the result. So there is OK. There is a error case scenario. If deleted count equal to 1, return OK. Then OK. JSON stream says user deleted successfully. If not, error status. Yeah, so the return type is around here. It's going to be string. Okay, so last part in main, we are going to mount this API. Delete users. Okay, let's run this code. So while it is building, the code, we'll go ahead and create delete request. So yeah, delete. Here I'm going to paste this URL. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's running. So user deleted successfully. If I go to your database, if I do refresh, then you can see there are no users. Okay. If I go back and try to fetch the record, then it will result in 500. All right. So this is how we write. We can write CRUD operation using Rust Rocket framework and MongoDB. So thanks for watching my video. And if you are liking the content, then please like, share, subscribe so that more and more audience can reach this video. Okay. Thanks.